They found her body in a burning apartment, but the fire didn't kill her. Someone wanted her gone, and the truth behind what happened is even darker than anyone thought. Cashay Henderson was a vibrant soul who lit up every room she walked into. A passionate advocate for the Black transgender community, she inspired everyone around her. But on February 26, 2023, her life was stolen in a brutal crime. The fire at her apartment was only a cover-up for something more disturbing. In this video, we'll unwrap details of what happened to Cashay, who was responsible, and the final jury verdict. Welcome to Viral Felons Crime Channel. Subscribe and hit the bell for more true crime stories like this.
A Black trans woman is killed in Milwaukee.
Firefighters found her inside her apartment Sunday night with a gunshot wound while they were responding to a fire in the unit.
Those who knew 31-year-old Cashay Henderson say their hearts are heavy again, knowing whoever did this is still out there.
Cashay's murder isn't just a tragic loss. It's a frightening reminder of the violence faced by transgender individuals, especially Black trans women. Her story has left a community shaken and searching for answers. How could someone so loved, so strong, become the target of such hatred? And what drove her killer to commit such a senseless crime? Who was Cashay Henderson? Cashay grew up in Chicago, close to her sisters, always making her presence known with her commanding attitude and contagious energy. By the time she was 13 or 14, she began her transition, and her family stood by her every step of the way. She later moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, for better opportunities, and with her extended family, the Sheba Sisters, a support group for Black transgender women. Cashay wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. She owned her truth, pushed others to do the same, and even treated herself to a brand new car, a red 4-door Toyota Camry. She found an apartment on North 29th Street where she lived her best single life, alone in her own space with her pet snake. Milwaukee is famous for its variety of music festivals, cheeses, beer breweries, and frozen custards. It is the 5th most populous city in the Midwest United States and in Wisconsin, with a metro population of 1.57 million residents, according to the 2020 census. According to statistics in 2023, around 1,437 violent crimes per 100,000 residents were reported in Milwaukee. This made Milwaukee the 9th most dangerous city in the United States in that year. Cashay didn't let those staggering statistics stop her from socializing and meeting new people around the city. She went out, frequenting the Milwaukee nightlife and making new encounters. According to her neighbor, Cashay sometimes had men coming and going from her apartment. On Saturday, February 25, 2023, she invited a man over by the name of Cordell Howze. Cordell lived in Neenah, Wisconsin. He asked a friend of his to drive him from Neenah to Milwaukee to meet up with Cashay at her home. His friend dropped him off there that day. The day it all changed. Cashay and Cordell spent an evening out together in Milwaukee. They drove Cashay's car, as seen on security video near her apartment. The two stayed gone all night into the late morning, says a neighbor that stays on the same floor as Cashay in her apartment. This is what officials of the court reported. Cashay's neighbor stated that she arrived home at approximately 10:30 and noticed that Cashay's car was not parked in the parking lot. Neighbor stated that her friend GV stayed the night. Neighbor stated that she went to bed around 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. and looked out the window and still did not see Cashay's vehicle parked in the parking lot. Neighbor stated that she woke up around 7:30 a.m. and smelled gas. She stated that she asked her friend to check the stove, but the stove was turned off. Neighbor also stated that her friend asked her if she heard a gunshot early in the morning, but neighbor stated she never heard a gunshot that morning. Neighbor then stated that at 8 o'clock or 8:30 a.m., The apartment appeared to get smoky or hazy, and also smelled like burnt plastic. Around this time, neighbors stated that she looked out her apartment window and now saw Cashay's car parked in the parking lot. Neighbor went to knock at Cashay's apartment door, but nobody answered. Neighbor then went outside and saw smoke coming from Cashay's vent. Approximately 9:21 a.m., neighbor and her friend then called 911. On February 26, 2023, first responders arrived at Cashay's North 29th Street apartment after a report of a fire. Firefighter on scene observed the apartment was on fire and forced entry. The entire main room was thick with smoke and was actively on fire. After the fire was extinguished and the apartment was vented, the Milwaukee Fire Department discovered a transgendered woman's body, later determined to be Cashay Henderson, unconscious and not breathing. Her body was removed from the residence, and she has suffered 2 gunshot wounds. The first one entered her left scalp, and the second one entered her left cheek area, according to autopsy reports. Dr. Tlomak determined that the cause of death was multiple gunshot wounds, and the manner of death was homicide. Inside her apartment, they found more evidence: a gasoline can, a Toyota key fob, a deceased pet snake, and an unfired 9mm round. But the most disturbing discovery was Cashay herself. The fire was no accident. Neighbors reported hearing a gunshot around 5:30 a.m., smelling gasoline hours later, and seeing smoke seep into their homes. Security cameras revealed 2 people heading to Cashay's apartment in her car at 3:44 a.m. It also appeared that the front passenger was wearing a long-sleeved shirt that appeared to have light colored sleeves and a dark-colored front chest area. By 8:45 a.m., another camera caught someone walking away from the building. Milwaukee police obtained security video from residences and businesses in the area of the Cashay's apartment building. From all of this security camera footage, the suspect appears to be wearing a black vest with a hood over a gray sweatshirt, consistent with light-colored sleeves and a dark front chest area last seen on the passenger in Cashay's car. The prime suspect. Detectives gathered all evidence and identified 36-year-old Cordell Howze, born in 1989, as a suspect after finding his left ring fingerprint on a Lysol bottle in Cashay's car. Witness P's testimony painted a disturbing picture of Cordell with a violent past and a chilling confession. Witness stated he knew Cordell for 2 years. He drove Cordell to Milwaukee on the 25th, dropped him off, and then went back home alone. He indicated that on Monday night, February 27th, Cordell showed up at his residence in Neenah without calling first. He says that Cordell was waiting outside when Witness' wife arrived home, and Cordell had a firearm with a green laser beam, which he pointed at her head. Witness P stated that he got home, and Cordell was in his living room armed with a black SIG 9mm PT-20 handgun with a green laser beam and an extended magazine. Witness P stated that he took the firearm and took it apart. Cordell was acting strange and had a blank stare on his face. Cordell then showed him a video on his phone that showed what appeared to be a deceased African-American female with apparent blood on the female's head, as well as on the floor and pillows. Additionally, Witness P saw an aquarium that contained a snake. From this description, it is obvious that the video Cordell showed them is of Cashay's lifeless body, and the snake is consistent with Cashay's apartment. Witness P and Witness L explained how Cordell stated, "I caught a body of an explicit term trans." Court officials knew that the term "caught a body" means, in this context, that Cordell is admitting that he ended the life of a transgendered person. Cordell also stated that he put his phone in airplane mode so that the police could not track it, and that he wanted to end the lives of several other people. Witness P returned his firearm and told Cordell that he had to leave. Cordell left showing zero remorse. Unravel the timeline. Cordell's movements before and after the murder were chaotic. The day before, he asked a witness for a ride from Neenah to Milwaukee. The following night, he showed up at the same witness's home, armed and paranoid, threatening the man's wife with a gun. He even turned his phone to airplane mode to avoid being tracked. Cordell's own mother reported that he had given her a Gucci bag and Rolex watch the morning after the murder items later identified as Cashay's. On February 28, 2023, Cordell was believed to be driving a 2019 white Chevrolet Trax, which fled as the officer attempted to arrest him. During the chase, Cordell threw several items into the snow, which included a black Sig Sauer P3209mm semi-automatic handgun, disassembled and matching the description of the firearm described by Witness P, with a green laser attachment, as well as 3 firearm magazines, one of which contained 8 GFL 9mm cartridges similar to the unfired cartridge found in the Cashay's bathroom. Cordell was eventually taken into custody after his vehicle was disabled during the chase. Additionally, the clothing described by witnesses and seen in the security videos was recovered during Cordell's arrest. His arrest brought some relief, but it didn't answer the most pressing question: why her? Cordell was charged with Count 1 first-degree reckless homicide and Count 2 possession of a firearm by a felon. His prior convictions include felony offense, battery, threat to judge, prosecutor, or law enforcement officer, armed robbery, Milwaukee County and Waukesha County, and felony theft. Cordell appeared in court to accept his fate from the judge on November 25, 2024.
A Neenah man was sentenced today for killing a transgender woman in Milwaukee.
It was a brutal attack that happened in early 2023. CBS 58's Jenna Wells live at the Milwaukee County Courthouse with the judge's decision. Jenna.
That's right, Mike and Amanda. Cordell Howze was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility or eligibility for parole for the murder of 31-year-old Cashay Henderson, a transgender woman.
It's not just that you killed Ms. Henderson, but that you then tried to deface her body after death, including setting fire to her residence.
A brutal recount of February 26, 2023, when Cordell Howze shot Cashay Henderson twice in the head in her apartment, then set it on fire. Prosecution said as she was dying, he took videos mocking her.
One of the theories is that you wanted to kill a trans person. That might be what happened. It certainly would be consistent with the comments you made on the recording that you made of her body.
Howze was found guilty by a jury in June. At his sentencing Monday, Henderson's sister said Cashay's death was driven by hate.
This wasn't just an attack on her. It was an attack on everyone who believes in acceptance and kindness.
In court, Howze apologized, saying he's been misguided in life.
I truly apologize to the community, to the courts, Cashay's family.
But Judge David Swanson noted his long criminal history.
Previous efforts at rehabilitation clearly failed because not only did you reoffend, but you reoffended in the worst possible way.
Now, in addition to Howze's life sentence for first-degree intentional homicide, Judge David Swanson gave him 5 years for being a felon in possession of a firearm and 25 years. That's the maximum for arson. Reporting live from the Milwaukee County Courthouse, Jenna Wells, CBS 58 News.
Jenna, thanks so much for that.
The motive behind Cashay's murder remains to be hate and misguidance, in our opinion, based on the facts of this case and his apology statement in court. We do know that Cashay's murder wasn't just a crime against her. It was a crime against an entire community already struggling with fear and discrimination. Cashay Henderson was a force of nature, a woman who refused to let the world dim her light. Her death is a disturbing reminder of the dangers faced by transgender individuals, especially Black trans women, in a world where intolerance still thrives. Cordell Howze will now spend his life in prison without parole, but no sentence will bring Cashay back to her family, her friends, and the community she fought so hard to uplift. Subscribe for more stories that demand to be heard, and watch our next video to see how you can help make a difference.